Old World Radio, Evening Dispatch. Green Dawn. A power grab begins. Good evening, America. We bring you news from the Wasteland, where a most extraordinary development has unfolded. A development so strange, so unprecedented, that Washington has officially filed it under weather and refused to comment further. Tonight, we report on the rise of a new political force. They are green. They are large. They are, by most accounts, extremely well-meaning. And they have announced, in a ceremony that one witness described as touching, if slightly radioactive, their intention to take over the entire wasteland. The mutants, ladies and gentlemen, have decided to organize. Our correspondent, whose name we are withholding for reasons that will shortly become obvious, was present at what historians are already calling the founding convening. It was held, in keeping with the finest traditions of our young republic, in a parking lot. A very fine parking lot, mind you, one of the ones where the lines are still visible, which in these parts passes for infrastructure. The gathering began, as all great movements begin, with a roll call. This proved difficult, as several attendees could not remember their own names, and one insisted his name was Gary, which, as we reported in a previous dispatch, is a position shared by 43 other men, all of whom were not in attendance, but somehow voted anyway. The leader of this new movement is a gentleman by the name of, and here we must pause, for the name was delivered to us through a Geiger counter, and is thus, we are told, subject to interpretation. For the purposes of this broadcast, we shall call him simply the chairman. The chairman is described by associates as visionary, committed, and surprisingly articulate for someone whose primary form of communication was, until recently, pointing. The chairman rose to address the assembly, and what an address it was. He spoke, we are told, for nearly an hour, though the exact content remains a matter of some dispute, as the only transcription was taken by a radroach, who reportedly left after the first 3 minutes. The thrust of the speech, however, was clear. The mutants, the chairman declared, are tired. Tired of being shot at on sight. Tired of being asked to leave establishments they were only walking past. Tired of being mistaken for landscaping. And so, in a decision that has sent shockwaves through the diplomatic community, they have decided to form a union. Not an army, not a faction, a union, with dues and bylaws and, we are assured, a very reasonable pension plan for those who survive to a retirement age that, in the wasteland, is largely theoretical. The demands are modest. The mutants wish to be recognized as a legitimate political entity. They wish to hold elections. They wish to own property, specifically, and here the correspondent's notes become slightly smudged, the abandoned Super-Duper Mart on the corner of Route 9, which they have described as a diamond in the rough, if the rough were a collapsed parking structure full of ghouls. The reaction from the established powers has been swift and, one might say, characteristically decisive. The Brotherhood of Steel issued a statement reading, and we quote, "No." The Enclave issued a statement reading, and we quote, "Also no, but with more words." And the ghouls, ever the pragmatists, issued no statement at all, but were observed installing a "no soliciting" sign on the mart, which experts agree is a bold opening position. Washington, for its part, has remained characteristically silent, releasing only a brief memorandum stating that the situation is, and we quote, "developing favorably." Developing toward what, the memorandum did not say. In fact, the memorandum did not say very much at all, which is, we are told, Washington for, "We saw it on the news like everybody else." The question on every American's lips, of course, is this: Can they do it? Can a band of well-meaning green gentlemen, armed with nothing but a grievance and a parking lot, actually seize control of the wasteland? To answer that question, we turned to our political correspondent, who, after a long pause and the consumption of what he described as a regrettable amount of canned ham, offered the following analysis. And I quote, "Look, in my experience, these things come down to one question. Do they have snacks? Because every revolution in history has been won or lost on the quality of the snack situation. Napoleon had his biscuits, Washington had his cherries. And these fellows, well, we simply don't know yet. It's too early to tell. But if their snack game is strong, I would not bet against them." Profound words from a profound mind. And now, a word from our sponsor, Atomic Home Shelters. Because nothing says home sweet home quite like 2 feet of concrete, a decade of canned beans, and the quiet, unshakable certainty that whatever is happening up there, you are down here. Ask about our new family value model, now with a second air vent for the discerning family that enjoys breathing. Atomic Home Shelters will be here when you get back, if you get back. And now, the wasteland weather. Tonight, mild, with a light breeze blowing in from the east, carrying with it the faint, nostalgic scent of scorched earth and optimism. Tomorrow, we expect partly cloudy skies with a 40% chance of radioactive fallout and a 100% chance that the mutants hold another meeting because, and this is our official forecast, they have discovered the joy of Robert's Rules of Order, and there is no stopping them now. Keep those windows shut, folks. And finally tonight, a personal note from this broadcaster. There are those who say the wasteland has no room for hope, that the old world is gone, and that what rises in its place will be, at best, a lesser thing. But as I look out at this brave new world, at the mutants with their union, and the ghouls with their mart, and the radroach who, I am told, has been promoted to something called Clerk of the Assembly, I find myself, against all odds, encouraged. For it seems to me that even here, at the end of everything, there are still those who gather in parking lots and argue about bylaws. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is not the end of civilization. That is the beginning of it. This has been the Old World Radio Evening Dispatch. Tune in tomorrow when we bring you the chairman's first campaign speech, delivered, we are told, to a crowd of mannequins and one deeply skeptical radroach. Until then, this is your broadcaster signing off. Good night, and God bless America, we think.